We've always been told it takes money to make money. So, does that mean if you're flat broke, you're doomed to be poor for the rest of your life? That's not true. Florence Scovel Shinn reveals that your real starting capital isn't in your pocket or your bank account. Stick around until the end of this video and discover the 10-step plan to turn your nothing into the foundation of your fortune.
Step 1. The power of 0 point. Why starting with nothing is your greatest strategic advantage. You're at ground zero. No money in the bank, no big name connections, no brilliant business plan. Society, even your own logic, screams that this is the worst place to be. A spot of disadvantage, of impossibility. But today, we're shattering the greatest illusion of all. Florence Scovel Shinn teaches us that ground zero isn't a void of lack, it's a void of pure potential. Starting with nothing isn't your biggest weakness, it's your strategic advantage. Grasping this is the first and most critical step to building your wealth. Think about it. When you've got nothing to lose, you've got everything to gain. Ground zero frees you from the heaviest anchor holding back the wealthy from getting wealthier. Fear of loss. Those with $1 million dread losing it. Those with a reputation fear tarnishing it. Those with a business worry about it tanking. That fear makes them cautious, conservative, and often stops them from taking the bold leaps of faith needed for the next level of abundance. You, at ground zero, are free from that fear. You're nimble, adaptable, fearless. You can bet everything on your vision because your everything, for now, isn't material. It's your faith, your imagination, and your courage. Those are the only assets that truly matter in the game of life. Florence taught that consciousness comes before matter. Wealth is first an idea, a mental image, before it becomes gold and cash in the physical world. Ground zero is the perfect blank canvas. You don't need to erase old scribbles or tear down outdated structures. You've got the rare chance to build your financial empire on the cleanest, most powerful foundation there is. Your pure imagination, aligned with the divine mind. People who inherit money often inherit limiting beliefs, fears, and baggage along with it. You get to build your wealth on a bedrock of pure faith and purpose, unburdened by the clutter of the past. The Bible is packed with heroes chosen by God not despite their ground zero but because of it. Take David. When the prophet Samuel went to anoint Israel's next king, he saw David's older brothers, tall, strong, looking every bit like warriors. Human logic picked them. But God told Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." 1 Samuel 16 verse 7. God passed over those who had something, looks, status, and chose the shepherd boy, the family's zero, the one nobody took seriously. Why? Because David's heart was a blank canvas of pure faith, free from the arrogance and preconceptions of the others. From his nothing, God built a king. Your zero is your divine qualification. It forces you to rely not on your resources but on the source of all resources. It makes you flex your spiritual muscles, your faith, your intuition, your resilience. It teaches you to create value from nothing, to turn ideas into reality. These are the true skills of wealth masters, skills many born into money never develop. You're not just learning to make money, you're becoming the kind of person wealth chases. So today, I invite you to flip your perspective. Look at your zero, not with despair but with excitement. You're in the most powerful position a creator can be in. You're the artist facing a blank canvas, the composer before the silence, the architect staring at open land. What's the first thing you'll paint on your blank canvas? What's the first image of wealth you dare to dream? If it feels right, share that first vision of your rich life in the comments. If you're ready to embrace the power of your ground zero, drop a like to lock in this new mindset. And subscribe, because starting with the next chapter, will hand you the tools to start building. Step number 2. Your first asset, imagination. Jacob's secret to creating wealth with vision alone. You've embraced the power of your ground zero. Now it's time to tap into your first and most valuable asset, one you already possess in abundance, no matter how empty your bank account is, your imagination. Florence Scovel Shinn called imagination the scissors of the mind, the the tool that cuts out images from the divine blueprint and imprints them onto your subconscious, which then works tirelessly to manifest them in the physical world. For someone starting from zero, imagination isn't a pastime. It's your factory, your workshop, your wealth creation lab. It's the only place where you can build your fortune in vivid detail before a single material brick is laid. Most people wield their imagination against themselves. They use it to rehearse disaster, picture bankruptcy, or spin scenarios of fear and worry. They're architects of anxiety's sandcastles. Your first act of power is to take conscious control of this tool. Stop using your imagination to visualize what you fear and start using it deliberately to picture what you desire. Florence would say, dare to use your imagination constructively, daring to imagine the good you desire for yourself and others. This isn't daydreaming. It's focused work. It's crafting the blueprint for your abundant life. How do you do it? Carve out time each day to close your eyes and step into your mental workshop. Inside, build the scene of your rich life already realized. Don't just see yourself getting money, see yourself living with it. How does it feel to wake up in your dream home? What's the smell of your morning coffee? How do you dress? Who do you talk to? How do you spend your time, now that money's no longer a worry? Feel the gratitude, peace, and joy of that reality. The more sensory details you weave in, the more real it becomes to your subconscious. Here's the key. Your subconscious can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. By repeatedly imprinting this image, it takes it as a command and starts moving heaven and earth to make it your physical reality. The Bible gives us a stunning example of wealth creation through imagination in the story of Jacob in Genesis 30. Jacob struck a deal with his father-in-law, Laban, to keep any sheep born speckled or spotted. Laban, being sly, removed all the speckled sheep from the flock, leaving only solid-colored ones, thinking Jacob had no shot at profit. Jacob was essentially at ground zero, with the odds stacked against him. But he used a visualization technique. He took tree branches and peeled them into striped patterns. He placed these striped branches in front of the watering troughs where the strongest sheep came to mate. He made the sheep focus on a visual of stripes during conception. The result: the sheep gave birth to an abundance of striped, speckled, and spotted lambs. Jacob became filthy rich, not through genetic trickery but by applying a spiritual principle. He imprinted a clear visual image onto the subconscious of the flock, and nature conformed to that image. Your mind is the flock. The images you place before it will determine the fruit it produces in your life. Are you setting out striped branches of abundance, success, and joy for your mind to focus on? Or are you letting it stare at the solid-colored sheep of lack and limitation? In the comments, share, what's the first striped branch, the first vivid image of success you'll place before your mind every day starting now? If you're committed to using your imagination as your primary building tool, drop a like to seal that pledge. And subscribe, because in the next step, we'll teach you how to give voice to that image, turning it into a powerful command. Step number 3, working capital of the word. How to print your own money through abundance decrees. You've harnessed your first asset, your imagination, to draft the blueprint of your fortune. You've got a vivid, detailed picture of your abundant life. But even the most perfect blueprint stays dormant until it gets the green light to be built. Now, it's time to tap into your second asset, your working capital, your spoken word. If imagination is the blueprint, your word is the work order that puts the universe to work for you. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that words carry a vibrational power that sparks manifestation. They're the command that turns your mental image into physical reality. For someone starting from zero, your words aren't just communication, they're your personal mint. You literally print your future wealth every time you speak with faith. The mistake most people make is using their words to describe their current reality. They look at an empty bank account and say, "I'm broke." In doing so, they wield their creative power to breathe more life into the very condition they want to escape. It's like an architect staring at an empty lot and yelling, "This lot is empty. There's nothing here." And the universe, like a dutiful worker, obeys and keeps the lot empty. The secret, as Florence taught, is to use your words not to describe what is but to decree what will be. You look at your mental blueprint, your vision of wealth, and declare it out loud as if it's already done. That's a decree of abundance. A decree is not a wish. Wishing comes from lack. I wish I were rich. Decreeing comes from power. I am rich. A decree is spoken in the present tense, with authority and feeling. You're not asking, you're commanding. You're not hoping, you're proclaiming. Powerful decrees for someone starting from zero might be, infinite intelligence is my immediate and endless source of supply. I am a magnet for divine wealth. Or, everything I need is already on its way. The right doors open, the right people show up. My success is divinely orchestrated. Speak your decrees out loud every day. Feel the vibration of the words in your body. Feel their truth in your heart. You're sending a clear, powerful order to your subconscious and the universe. The Bible is a testament to the power of the spoken word to create from nothing. In Ezekiel 37, God takes the prophet to a valley full of dry bones, the perfect image of ground zero, of death, of total absence of life and hope. God doesn't tell Ezekiel to do anything physical. He gives him a command. Prophesy to these bones and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Ezekiel obeys. He speaks to the bones as if they can hear. He decrees life over death. As he prophesies, there's a noise, a stirring, and the bones come together. He prophesies again, and flesh and sinews form. He prophesies a third time, and the breath of life enters them, and they stand up, a vast army. Ezekiel had nothing but his voice and divine instruction. He used his words as his capital to turn a valley of death into an army of life. Your valley of dry bones, your lack of resources, your current situation, is waiting to hear your commanding word. Will you keep describing the dryness, or will you dare to prophesy life over it? Your words are your power of financial resurrection. Start today. Craft your personal decree of abundance. Write it down. Memorize it. Speak it with conviction in the morning, at noon, and at night. What will your decree be? What command will you give your subconscious and the universe starting today? Share your decree in the comments to inspire others and give it even more power. If you're ready to start printing your wealth with the power of your voice, drop a like to fire up your personal mint. And subscribe, because in the next step, we'll add the fuel to make your words manifest even faster. Step number 4. The zero-risk investment, faith. The story of Gideon, who defeated an army of only 300 men. You've got your wealth blueprint locked in your imagination and your spoken word as working capital to issue the orders. But for that project to leap off the page and rise into a towering skyscraper of prosperity, you need a third asset. The fuel, the catalyst, the investment that guarantees a return. This is your zero-risk stake, your faith. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the force that gives shape and solidity to your thoughts and words. Without faith, your affirmations are just empty chatter, and your visualizations are mere daydreams. Faith is the unshakable conviction that what you've imagined and decreed is already yours in the invisible realm, and it's inevitably on its way to the visible one. Investing with faith is the opposite of playing the stock market. In stocks, you crunch past data to guess the future, and risk is always lurking. With faith, you don't dwell on history. You align with the eternal truth of abundance. The risk is zero because you're not betting on a company or a market trend. Those are flawed channels. You're investing in the very source of all wealth, infinite intelligence, God. And that source never fails. The only real risk is your own doubt, your own impatience. Faith is your choice to trust the universe's CEO, instead of leaning on your limited analytical toolkit. How do you invest with faith? By acting as if your prayers already answered. You hold a posture of calm and gratitude, even when the outer world hasn't shifted yet. You refuse to doubt, to fret, to check your portfolio every 5 minutes. A farmer who plants a seed doesn't dig it up daily to see if it's sprouting. He trusts nature's process. In the same way, you plant the seed of your word in the soil of your subconscious, water it with your imagination, and trust the law of growth to handle the rest. Your peace, your refusal to worry, that's your greatest show of faith. It's proof you know your return is locked in. The Bible delivers one of the greatest lessons on faith, investing in the story of Gideon, in Judges chapters 6 and 7. Gideon was at absolute ground zero. His people were crushed, hiding in caves, their harvests looted by the Midianites. He saw himself as the least in his family, from the poorest clan in his tribe. Then an angel calls him mighty warrior and tasks him with freeing Israel. Gideon's knee-jerk reaction? Doubt, rooted in his material reality. But God reassures him. Gideon rallies an army of 32,000. By human logic, that's already a long shot against the enemy's 135,000. But God tells Gideon, "You have too many men." God whittles it down to 10,000, then to just 300. Why? To strip away any chance of winning by human might. The victory had to be unmistakably from total investment in the divine strategy. That strategy? Pure logic. Surround the enemy camp at night with trumpets, empty jars, and torches. These weren't weapons of war, they were tools of faith. At the blast of the trumpets and the flash of the torches, the enemy army panicked, turned on each other, and self-destructed from the inside out. Gideon and his 300 pulled off an impossible win not because they had more resources, but because they had fewer. They were forced to ditch trust in the visible, army size, and go all in on the invisible, God's plan. They proved faith isn't just a feeling, it's a superior investment strategy that delivers miraculous returns. Are you fighting your financial battles with an army that's too big? Logic, worry, control? Maybe your real power move is shrinking your army, letting go of the need to figure out the how, stopping the reliance on your solo hustle, and going all in on faith. What's one area of your life where you've been trying to win by force instead of by faith? Take a beat and reflect on it. If you're ready to make your zero-risk investment and trust the divine strategy for your wealth, drop a like to stake your bet on faith. And subscribe, because in the coming steps, we'll start seeing the miraculous returns roll in from that investment. Step number 5: Building your divine network. How prayer opens doors no human contact can open. In the business world, they say it's not what you know, but who you know. Networking, your circle of connections, is seen as a make-or-break asset. But what happens when you're at ground zero and you don't know a soul? When you're locked out of the power circles, the investors, the mentors? That's when you fire up your fifth and most potent asset, your divine networking. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that prayer isn't begging, it's tuning in and aligning. It's your hotline to the universe's great CEO, infinite intelligence that runs the whole show. Through prayer, you're not just asking for a handout, you're plugging into the ultimate network, one that can swing open doors no human contact ever could. Prayer, in Shinn's view, picks up right where your powerful words leave off. Your decrees are the orders you issue. Prayer is the boardroom chat you have with the chairman of the board, to sync your vision with his and get your marching orders. It's not a desperate plea born of fear, "Please help me, I can't take it anymore." It's an alignment prayer, straight from faith. "Father, I thank you because your will for me is abundance. Show me the way. Align me with the right people and opportunities." It's a conversation between business partners. You pitch your project, your vision, affirm your trust in the partnership, your faith, and ask for next steps, your intuition. When you pray like that, you're triggering a powerhouse spiritual law. You're basically firing off an email to Universe HQ. And infinite intelligence, with access to every database out there, starts hustling on your behalf. It knows exactly who you need to meet. It knows which person, in which city, holds that missing puzzle piece for you. Then it starts pulling strings, the coincidences, the chance encounters, the synchronicities. You accidentally bump into an old friend who intros you to an investor. You happen to read an article that sparks your next big product idea. You get a random call from someone dangling the perfect opportunity. That's not luck. That's your divine networking kicking in. It's the universe firing back on your alignment prayer. The Bible spotlights a gripping example of divine networking in the story of Nehemiah. He was just a lowly cupbearer to King Artaxerxes in Persia, total ground zero when it came to political pull. But word hits him that the walls of his hometown, Jerusalem, are in rubble. His heart ignites with purpose. Rebuild them. What does he do? No cash, no clout, no army. He does the one thing in his power. He prays. For days, he fasts and prays, not just begging, but aligning with God's purpose and asking for favor. Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servant, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man. Nehemiah 1 verse 11. He prayed, eyeing the king. What unfolded was a networking miracle. The king, who'd never seen him downcast, clocks his vibe and asks what's up. Nehemiah, prayer-fueled, lays out his pitch. The king doesn't just greenlight it, he hands over authorization letters, his visa, access to royal timber, his building supplies, and a military escort, his security detail. In one conversation, sparked by prayer, Nehemiah scored the empire's most powerful backer. He unlocked a level of power and resources no mere cupbearer could snag through human hustle. Prayer was his pitch meeting, his project deck, his funding ask. And the payoff. Total jackpot. Are you tapping your direct line to the throne room? Or wasting time knocking on human doors that stay slammed? Start today. Schedule your divine meetings. Before that big pitch, that key email, or kicking off your workday, drop an alignment prayer. Ask for the right doors to fly open and the wrong ones to slam shut. Ask to link up with the people in your divine blueprint. Ever had a coincidence or random run-in that flipped your life script? That was probably your divine networking at work. Drop your story in the comments if it hits home. If you're geared up to unleash the ultimate form of networking, smash that like and subscribe, because next, we'll dive into turning those connections into real deal action. Step number 6. The first brick of wealth. The inspired action that turns emptiness into opportunity. You've got the vision, the words, the faith, and the divine connection. You've locked in all the intangible assets. But now we hit the spot where rubber meets the road, where spirit crashes into matter. This is the step that sorts dreamers from doers. It's your sixth asset, the one that gives flesh and bone to all the others. Inspired action. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that faith without works is dead. You can visualize and affirm from dawn till dusk, but if you don't move when inspiration strikes, you're basically telling the universe, thanks for the blueprint and the supplies, but I'm not really up for building. Inspired action is the first brick you lay in the foundation of your wealth. It's the move that screams you're dead serious about your dream. But here's the key. You've got to nail the difference between inspired action and busy work. Busy action springs from fear, doubt, and this frantic need to micromanage everything. It's grinding 18 hours a day in sheer panic, firing off shots in every direction hoping something sticks, the kind of hustle that sucks you dry and pulls you off center. Inspired action. It flows from stillness, from your intuition, from your divine networking. It's that next step, clear, often tiny, that bubbles up after prayer or meditation. Not some 100-step master plan, just the very first one. It's the call you feel pulled to make, the paragraph you're lit up to write, the conversation you're nudged to have. Inspired action doesn't feel like a grind. It's light, energizing, the most natural, obvious next move in the world, even if it flies in the face of outside logic. For folks starting from zero, that first inspired action is rarely a grand leap. The universe won't demand you build an empire overnight. It'll ask you to lay just one brick. It'll test if you're faithful in the small stuff. If your vision is writing a book, inspired action isn't landing a publisher deal. It's sitting down and scribbling that opening sentence. If you dream of an online business, it's not scoring $1 million investment. It's snagging that domain name or dropping your first social media post. It's a move so small your logical brain can't drum up excuses to skip it. And by taking that tiny, obedient step, you prove your faith and crack open the flow for the next nudge and the next resource. The Bible's loaded with stories where massive breakthroughs kicked off with a small, sometimes downright weird inspired action. Take the healing of the man born blind in John chapter 9. Jesus didn't just zap him with a word. He spit on the ground, whipped up some mud with the saliva, smeared it on the guy's eyes, and hit him with this. Go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. The healing didn't drop when Jesus slapped on the mud. It hit when the man acted on the instruction. He had to haul himself up, stumble through the city, still blind, face caked in mud, and follow a command that sounded nuts. His inspired action, his straight-up obedience, flipped the switch on the miracle. He laid his brick of faith in the same vein. When Jesus pulled off the first miracle of multiplying the loaves, he didn't conjure bread out of thin air. He asked the disciples, "What do you have?" They had 5 loaves and 2 fish. He took that little bit, blessed it, then gave them their marching orders. Have the people sit down, organizing the crowd into groups before there was enough food? That was a raw act of faith, an inspired action that prepped the ground for the miracle. They moved like the feast was already there. What's your mud? Your first brick. What's that small inspired action your intuition's been poking you about? The one you've brushed off because it feels too puny, silly, or pointless. Maybe it's clearing your desk to make room for that new venture. Maybe it's forgiving someone to unclog your receiving channel. Maybe it's dropping $10 to someone in need to kickstart the law of circulation. Don't sleep on the power of that first step. It's what turns empty space into opportunity. Drop in the comments what your first brick is, the one you commit to laying this week. If you're done plotting and ready to build, smash that like to kick off your project. And subscribe, because the next steps will show you how to turn that single brick into an empire. Step number 7: from mustard seed to big tree. The exponential growth principle applied to finance. You've laid your first brick. You've taken that initial inspired action. And now, you look at the result and maybe think, that's it. You wrote a page, closed a small sale, got an unexpected little payout. Your logical mind, wired for instant gratification, might feel let down. It was gunning for an overnight miracle. This is where you need to lock in on the 7th, and one of the most potent principles of the universe, one Florence Scovel Shinn saw as make or break. The principle of exponential growth, or as Jesus put it, the law of the mustard seed. For anyone starting from zero, grasping this law is what fuels the grit to turn your first brick into an empire. Jesus said in Matthew 13 verses 31 to 32. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds come and perch in its branches. This isn't just a faith fable, it's a masterclass in divine finance. Your first inspired action, that tiny early win, is your mustard seed. It looks puny, too small to matter. But packed inside that little seed is the full blueprint for a towering tree. Inside your very first inspired earning is the DNA of your first million. Florence Scovel Shinn taught us the universe runs on growth, not magic snaps. Wealth doesn't materialize out of thin air, it sprouts from a seed. Your job isn't to stress over the tree's height, it's to honor and guard the seed. How? By celebrating the small start. When that first whisper of success shows up, don't shrug it off. Thank it with real fire in your soul. Florence would say, give thanks for your lunch before it appears, and you'll see it appear. Same deal, thank that first dollar like it's a million. In doing that, you're supercharging the seed, you're telling the universe, I see the power in this humble kickoff. Bring on more. Gratitude is the water and sunlight that cracks the seed open. The deadly trap so many fall into? Contempt. They pray for a sign, snag a small shot, and go, I asked for $10,000, not $100. They're basically stomping that mustard seed flat before it can sprout. The Bible warns us about it in Zechariah 4 verse 10. Who dares to despise the day of small things, since the 7 eyes of the Lord that range throughout the earth will rejoice when they see the chosen capstone in the hand of Zerubbabel. Don't brush off your first client, your first follower, your first spark of an idea. Each one's a seed. Your loyalty in nurturing the small is what earns you the big. Nature doesn't hand an oak to someone who can't tend a seedling. Picture your money journey like growing a forest. Every inspired action is a seed dropped in the dirt. Every little win is a sprout pushing through. At first, it's glacial. You just see scattered baby plants. But keep sowing, keep watering with gratitude, keep shielding those sprouts from the pest of doubt, and magic hits. Roots link up underground. Trees shoot up and drop their own seeds. That linear creep flips to exponential boom. Suddenly, it's not one tree anymore. It's a thriving ecosystem of prosperity. Income streams multiply, opportunities swarm from every angle, and wealth turns self-sustaining. But it all kicked off with the guts to plant and cheer that first, fragile seed. What was your mustard seed this week? That little signal, that quiet win you maybe glossed over or shrugged at. Hit pause right now, spot it, celebrate it, give it thanks. Drop it in the comments so we can all cheer it on with you and crank up that growth vibe. If you're vowing never to dismiss a small start again, smash that like to salute your seed's power. And subscribe, because next up, we'll unpack how your mindset toward that seed can turbocharge your wealth tree's growth. Step number 8. The test of talents. How faithfulness in little or nothing qualifies you for much. You've planted your mustard seed and you're learning to celebrate it. Now, you're stepping into a make or break phase of your zero to wealth journey, the testing phase. The universe, like a sharp investor, wants to see what you do with that first small return it handed you. It's testing your stewardship. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the law of prosperity is ironclad. Wealth flows to those who prove they can handle it with wisdom, gratitude, and purpose. This is the principle Jesus nailed in the parable of the talents, in Matthew 25 verses 14 to 30. For anyone starting from scratch, getting this test right is what decides if you stall at level 1 or rocket into exponential abundance. I end the parable. A man about to head out on a trip calls in 3 servants and hands over his property. To one he gives 5 talents, a hefty sum of cash, to another 2, and to the last, 1. He didn't dish out the same to everyone. He gave to each according to his ability. The man stands for the divine source. The talents are the gifts, opportunities, and resources, even the tiny ones, we get. The servant with 5 talents jumps right in, trades them up, and doubles his haul to 10. The one with 2 does the same, netting 4. They were faithful with what they had. They put their resources to work. But the guy with just 1 talent, fear gripped him. He eyed his little bit with contempt and insecurity. Instead of using it, he dug a hole and buried it. Unfaithful in the small stuff. When the master returns, he throws a party for the first 2 servants. To both, he drops the same game-changing words. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Because they proved they could manage and multiply what was given, they leveled up big time. But to the one who buried his talent, the master's verdict is harsh. He calls him wicked and lazy, and orders that single talent stripped away and handed to the guy with 10. The lesson hits like a gut punch. The universe doesn't mess around with wasted potential. If you don't use what you've got, you'll lose even that scrap. But if you faithfully work your little, more will pour in, abundantly. How does this land for you, kicking off from 0? Your 1 talent might not be stacks of cash. It could be an idea, an hour of free time a day, a skill you've got, your energy, your words. Are you using that talent to crank out more value? Or are you burying it under excuses, procrastination, and fear? Got a business idea but you're sitting on it? You're burying your talent. Got spare time but you burn it on gripes and mindless scrolling? Buried. Got a bit of extra cash but you blow it in panic or hoard it in greed instead of investing it in learning, a tool, a kind act. Buried. Florence Scovel Shinn would say your vibe toward your little dictates the flow of your much. Treat every buck with respect. Bless the money you spend, knowing it's circulating and coming back multiplied. Use your time with intention. Pour into your skills. Be a rock star steward of your apparent nothing, and the universe will clock you as ready for something real. Faithfulness in the small isn't about how much you hold, it's about how you handle what you do. It's a character check, a responsibility gut check, alignment with the growth law. Think about it now. What's that talent God handed you that you might have buried out of fear or dismissal? A skill gathering dust? An idea you won't chase? A small resource you're not maxing out? Spot it right here. And decide today to dig it up and put it to work. Drop in the comments which talent you're committing to multiply starting this week. If you're geared up to show the universe you're a faithful steward, hit that like to own this responsibility. And subscribe, because next, we'll unpack what happens when you ace this test and the trickle turns into a flood. Step number 9, the empty vessel effect. The story of the widow and the oil that only stopped flowing when there were no vessels. You aced the test. You were faithful in the small things and showed the universe you're a solid steward. Now, buckle up, because the flow of abundance is about to ramp up. And this is where so many folks climbing out of zero trip up on a sneaky, game-ending mistake. They don't gear up to receive the bigness they've been asking for. They pray for a river but show up with a shot glass to catch the water. This is your cue to wrap your head around the 9th, and one of the most electric principles of wealth, the empty vessel effect. Florence Scovel Shinn hammered home that divine supply is infinite and boundless. The only bottleneck isn't the source, it's our receiving capacity. Your wealth won't be capped by God, it'll be limited by the size and number of vessels you line up. The story that drives this home like nothing else is in 2 Kings chapter 4. A widow, one of the prophet's wives, is in rock-bottom desperation. Her husband's dead, he left behind crushing debts, and the creditors on his way to snatch her 2 boys as slaves. She's past ground zero, she's in the red. She cries out to the prophet Elisha, who hits her with this. "What do you have in your house?" Her answer, "Your servant has nothing there at all, except a flask of olive oil." That little jar of oil was her one talent, her mustard seed. Then Elisha drops this wild instruction. He doesn't tell her to hawk the oil. He says, "Go, borrow vessels at large for yourself from all your neighbors, even empty vessels, do not get a few." Check the sequence. Prep for receiving. Build the capacity. Grab lots of vessels, not just a couple. Don't cap the miracle before it even kicks off. The widow rolls with it. She and her sons hustle around, rounding up every empty jar they can find. Then Elisha follows up. "Go in and shut the door behind you and your sons, and pour out into all these vessels, and set aside what is full." She grabs her tiny flask and starts pouring into the first empty jar. And the oil flows. The first one fills up. She hits the second, and the oil keeps coming. Third, fourth, every single vessel she'd prepped brims with oil pouring from that one small flask. Then we hit the story's gut punch pivot. She tells her son, "Bring me another vessel." He says, "There's not a vessel left." What happens the split second her receiving capacity runs dry? The text nails it. Then the oil stopped. The oil didn't quit because the source dried up. It stopped because there was nowhere left to put it. The source's supply was endless, but the widow's receiving room was finite. She got exactly what her prep and her expectations allowed. If she'd snagged 100 jars, she'd have filled 100. 1,000. 1,000 full ones. Florence Scovel Shinn would grab this tale and hit us with, "What empty vessels are you prepping for your wealth?" Your vessels are the setups you build to catch the abundance. They're the bank accounts you open for specific goals, investing, giving, dream chasing. The projects you kick off. The courses you take to level up your skills. The space you carve in your calendar for that new hustle. It's your mindset stretching to handle bigger numbers without freaking out. Too many folks beg for a gold rush but roll up with an umbrella of fear and half-assed prep. They've got no vessels to scoop up the blessing. Are you prepping for the success you're calling in? If $1 million dropped in your lap today, would you know exactly what to do with it? Got the legal, financial, and mental frameworks to wrangle it? Start lining up your vessels now. Open a fresh savings account and label it My Freedom Fund. Sketch out the business plan for that company you've been eyeing. Clear and organize your workspace for the gigs you want. Every prep move is a faith flex. It's you telling the universe, I'm ready. Hit me. I've got space for it. What's your first empty vessel you'll set up this week? A mental one, stretching your vision. A physical one, sorting your space. A financial one, building a new structure? Drop your goal in the comments. If you're done capping your miracle and ready to start stacking those vessels, smash that like and subscribe, because in the final step, we'll break down how to keep that infinite flow pumping for life. Step number 10, from zero to infinity. Maintaining the flow and becoming the source for others starting from zero. You started at ground zero, that blank canvas. You fired up your first asset, imagination. You supercharged it with your words. You poured in faith as your zero-risk bet. You built your divine network through prayer. You took that first inspired step. You learned to nurture the mustard seed, stayed faithful in the small stuff, and lined up your vessels to catch the abundance. You've nailed the zero to wealth journey. But the game doesn't end here. It just levels up. Now, you step into the final game-changing move, the shift from zero to infinite. This is the secret to keeping the flow steady, and more than that, to living a life drenched in real purpose and meaning. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that wealth isn't some finish line you hit and lounge on forever. It's a river meant to rush through you, not just pool up for you. Damn that river. If you hoard your gains out of fear of losing them, and the water turns stagnant, the flow grinds to a halt. The key to endless abundance? Become the channel yourself, a fountain spilling over for others. You've closed the loop on receiving. Now, to unlock the infinite, you kick off the loop of giving. You're not the widow with her little jar of oil anymore. You're the prophet Elisha himself, steering miracles toward those who need them. This is the stage where you rise above chasing personal security and lean into the mission of service. You glance back at the road you've walked, from your rock bottom zero to right here, and it hits you. Every step, every gut punch challenge, every hard-won lesson wasn't just for you. It was so one day, you could turn around and light the way for folks still stumbling at the starting line. Your comeback story? That's your killer asset now. Your experience. Your flagship product. Your wisdom. Your ultimate service. The Bible spotlights this principle in epic style through Abraham's life. God called him when he had zilch, not even a kid, and dropped a promise of riches and heirs. But that promise came with a purpose clause in Genesis 12 verse 2. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. The command wasn't just, I'll bless you. It was, I'll bless you so that you'll be a blessing. Abraham's wealth wasn't for his own selfish high five. It was so, all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Genesis 12 verse 3. He turned into a channel so wide his ripple effect and legacy stretch across millennia. He tapped the infinite because he got it. The point of his abundance was to serve humanity. How do you become that fountain? Start right where you stand. You don't need millions to kick it off. Remember the law of circulation. Give from what you've got. Got knowledge? Teach someone. Got time? Volunteer it. Got a word of encouragement? Drop it where it's needed. Got cash? Tie the slice, not out of duty, but with the pure joy of knowing you're a pipeline for divine supply. In doing that, you keep the current wide open. You're telling the universe, keep it coming, I won't bottleneck it. Everything flowing through me gets used to bless and multiply the good. Living infinite means rocking a steward mindset, not an owner's grip. You get that nothing's truly yours. It all belongs to the source, and you're just the trusted manager tasked with stewarding those resources for the greater good. That shift nukes your fear of loss for good, because you can't drop what was never yours to clutch in the first place. You level up to master player, shuffling the pieces of wealth with wisdom, joy, and easy detachment, knowing the source that pulled you from zero can provision you through anything. This is your graduation. You learned the rules, played the game and crushed it. Now, your mission. Become the teacher, the mentor, the lighthouse. Look back at your ground zero self and ask, what do I wish someone had told me back then? That answer. It's your fresh purpose. Your call to be the fountain. What's the biggest lesson you've pulled from this 10-step ride? Drop your top revelation in the comments. Your wisdom might be the key someone else is hunting. If you're all in on not just getting rich but being a blessing, hit that final like as your seal on this pact. And subscribe, not just to grab more, but to join a crew of folks fired up to become abundance wellsprings in the world. The game's not over. It's just gone infinitely bigger. Until the next video.